Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, regardless of where you are. It's always a good time to talk about the gospel enlightened by Spiritism. Today, we'll be reviewing chapter 43 of the book Our Daily Bread. It's called Good Manners. Before we begin, I'd like to thank Kardec Radio for opening up so many of its platforms for us to have conversations just like this one. Again, Kardec Radio is available in different platforms. They're even available in the X platform, formerly known as Twitter. And they have their own app where you can have access to podcast programs, or just say podcast like types of programs using their app. Before we begin, let's close our eyes, connect with our spiritual benefactors, and thank the Lord for another day on earth. Thank the Lord for another opportunity for improvement, another opportunity for growth, for development. Each day, believe it or not, we learn something new. And even though we might not notice it, and of course others will definitely not notice it, we are getting a little bit better each day. So let's celebrate each of our days here on earth, in our existence, in our experience, because every day is so valuable. And everything we do is so valuable. All the lessons we connect are so important for our benefit. May God's love be with us always. So be it. Again, we're going to be talking about chapter 43 of the book. Our daily bread is called Good Manners, and it's based on Luke chapter 14, verse 10. And it goes like this, the passage from the gospel: take the lowest place. So this is in reference to the parable in which Jesus indicates to us that, hey, if you're invited to a banquet, make sure that you take the lowest place, because it might come that another more celebrated guest might arrive and the host might ask you to move out in case you select one of the places up in the front, or one of the most prestigious places. So the guest might ask that you move out so that the more honorable guest might join and might take a place. But then Jesus says, no, on the contrary, go look for the lowest place, go sit behind, because then it might so happen that your host might come to you and say, hey, what you doing there? Come up front. And then you're going to be honored. And then, then you're going to be able to, that's when actually your qualities, quote unquote, are going to come into play. So it's quite significant. And Emmanuel explores this in a very interesting way because, first of all, this is how Emmanuel explains it. So, in this passage, the Master affords us an unforgettable lesson in good manners. So, it's interesting the way that Emmanuel reflects on that, refers to it as not just humility, but good manners as well. Emmanuel continues. It is true that the context is highly symbolic with regard to the paternal banquet of divine mercy. Nevertheless, it would be convenient to transfer this concept in order to apply its mechanisms to common daily living. So again, Emmanuel is drawing a parallel between that parable, and he's actually taking a different route than what's usually done. Now he's indicating, okay, let's apply it. Let's not just uh, understand it in the regard of our spiritual development, of our spiritual achievements, but let's apply it in our daily lives. So I really like this passage, this lesson here by Emmanuel, because he brings us to our daily experiences. So Emmanuel continues indicating that the recommendation of our Savior applies to all situations when we are called to examine something new brought on by our fellow man. For instance, someone who enters a home or participates in a reunion for the first time with an air of superiority, a know it all attitude, and gives the impression of being from a better environment, than it in which he is visiting becomes intolerable to those present. So it's kind of like this here because now it's very commonsensical, but how many times don't we have that attitude? How many times when we face a new situation, when we are among people we haven't met before, when we are in a country we haven't been before, in a city, in a county, in any kind of organization, sometimes, of course, in a different workplace, we might tend to start noticing some deficiencies, or to us that seem to be some deficiencies, well, what some shortcomings. But again, we're going to be judging those based on our own perspective and based on our own limitations. So Emmanuel starts making a point of the error in doing so. So this attitude of know it all. It is quite interesting when we visit a foreign land. We do have a tendency of comparing our native culture, or our native culture of this life, with the native culture of that location. And again, everything we judge is going to be based on what we see, and we do not have an idea, we don't have the whole picture of the whole background for that country to have certain attitudes, some customs. But that's just an example, and that applies to someone's family, someone's situation, someone's level of education. So it is important for us not to misjudge others just based on our own judgment, because we are as fallible as everyone else, and we're never get gonna be able to have the whole picture, especially if we are confronted with a situation, with a culture, with a people, with a family, with a city, in any new situation. When we're confronted with that for the first time, we're never gonna have the full picture. Emmanuel continues his explanation, indicating that even though it be a group misguided in its ulterior motives or finality, it would be reasonable for an enlightened individual to become an austere and demanding. It would be unreasonable for an enlightened individual to become an austere and demanding counselor for the task of rectifying or guiding souls. It is indispensable for the faithful worker of righteousness to initiate the effort and reach out to these hearts through genuine fraternity. Only in this way will he be able to file away the imperfections effectively, thereby eliminating a portion of the shadows daily by way of constant service. So, very important here. This is a very important point, because when we see the shortcomings of others, and again, those others might be a different culture, they might be a different family, a different city, a different workplace, and a lot of times those issues are flagrant, and we have the tendency to become judgmental, and we take upon ourselves to be the quote unquote saviors. But again, what Emmanuel is indicating to us is that even in those circumstances, even if we're so sure that we are in a better position, that we're the enlightened ones, even though we should not be demanding, even though we should be taxing on others. And if there are improvements to be made, we should be mindful and respectful of the way that each one of us, of the path, of the time that each one of us takes to achieve a certain level. And I'd like to open a parenthesis here, because whatever level of we've achieved, it might be of education, it might be of understanding, it might be of enlightenment, and everything happened to us through time. We had experiences that led to that. We had effort that took us, brought us there, or to who we are today. Who we are today is a product of not only this reincarnation, but of several reincarnations in the past. So it took time. We were very imperfect. Um, most of us on earth, the great, great, great majority of us on earth are imperfect, are low spirits, and spirits who are learning. So, whatever level we took us to reach here, whatever time it took was a very long time, took effort and experience, and not only from this life, but from previous lives as well. So, who are we to expect others to improve on in our eyes overnight? Emmanuel continues here. We know that Jesus was the great reformer of the world, correcting and spreading love, asserting that he had come to mankind to fulfill the law. So we see here Jesus was the most perfect spirit to ever incarnate on earth. So, and Jesus did not reincarnate on earth because he incarnated. Jesus only came here once because when doing the formation of the earth in the book Pathway to Light, it is explained to us that he has been the governor of the planet ever since its creation. So Jesus incarnated in the planet. He was already perfect. That's why he only came here once. So we see here that he is our guide and our teacher. He's our model. But even though, excuse me for a second, sorry about that. Even though he was like that in that situation, he he was explicit about being to fulfill the law. But you never see he was forceful and he was very clear, but and he did indicate that we had to put in effort in our improvement, but in no time Jesus indicated that we would become perfect spirits overnight. He did indicate that, yeah, he mentioned you are gods. Whatever I do, one day you're gonna be able to do. So he didn't tell us, hey, whatever I do, you're gonna be able to do next day. No, because he understands that it takes time for us to evolve. So, with that in mind, let's do, Emmanuel continue this explanation. Do not attack the places where you find yourself. When you stop somewhere with your siblings in God, do not overshadow them by exhibiting the extent of knowledge that you have mastered in the areas of love and wisdom. Love and wisdom. If you have decided to cooperate for the good of others, do not outshine so that those around can truly understand you. By imposing rules or displaying powers, you will accomplish nothing except to establish stronger disturbances. This is quite important. So, again, let's not attack the places we find ourselves in. Let's not judge others because, again, each spirit is in its own level of development. There are spirits that are farther behind. There are most spirits on earth are about the same level as we are. There are others, though, that are uh, farther behind than us. But there are spirits that are so far ahead, so more evolved than us. So who are we to judge our brothers and sisters that might be falling, might be a little bit behind compared to us, since we also have so much to learn. So whenever we be in different places or different situations with different populations with different customs, let's not attack those and let's not show our knowledge, try to overshadow them by exhibiting what we know. Because again, we might know more than others, but there's so much more in the universe that we still need to learn. And of course, whatever we mastered, there's no need for us to show off, quote unquote, on the areas of love and wisdom. Of course, we love in this case. I interpret as moral development. So yes, we've reached uh, some level of love and some level of wisdom, some level of intellectual development as well. But again, there are always the spirits that are farther behind than we are. There are spirits who have fallen behind as well compared to us. But there are other spirits that are so far ahead when it comes to moral and intellectual development. And it's good to remind for us to keep in mind here that if we have decided to cooperate for the good of others, it needs to come from the heart. It is an act of charity. So it's useless for us to try to outshine others because all you gotta do is just make others feel bad. And you're not going to help them understand you. On the contrary, you're going to create misunderstandings. And that's why here that we say that Emmanuel finalized indicating that if you are trying to impose rules or displaying powers, what you're going to end up doing is just causing more disturbances because again you're going to create misunderstandings, you're going to create frustration, you're going to create um, all kinds of bad feelings, feelings of sadness. So instead of helping your brothers and sisters to move forward, you actually leave them to more disappointment, and that's not what you want, especially if you have a good heart. None of us is perfect, but in general, we're trying to do what's right. So that's our conversation for today. I hope you liked it, and if you liked this lesson here from our daily bread. So to make sure you click the like button and the subscribe button. We are here every Thursday at 7:30 Eastern Time. This is one of the different programs that you can find in Kardec Radio. Again, we're so thankful for Kardec Radio for opening up in its different platforms for us to help disseminate Spiritism. At this moment, let's close our eyes or whatever makes you comfortable, and let's say our final prayer. Jesus, our friend, thank you for your patience with us. Thank you for your humility and for coming here with us and spending time with us. Such a short period, but that was so impactful and so important for humanity. Thank you for all the lessons that are in your gospel because they, even though most of us have not reached perfection yet, at least your teachings, your guidance, your behavior, being the model, the role model that you are, helps us maybe, probably, to not err so often. May your peace be with us. May we learn your humility as we consider the shortcomings of others and how we can help others, but most especially, most importantly, as we understand our own shortcomings and as we realize how much, so much more that we still need to learn and improve and grow. Thank you. So be it.